Dana Brown got hired, relatively unknown to most people in Houston until recently. But it seems the baseball world is all abuzz about him because he wants to get greedy about wins. He is a great player evaluator. And Elvis Rodriguez tells us we got a baseball guy leading us now. So let's talk about this on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
And apparently the video is not working again. So we are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman, and you can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros. And Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and Instagram. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Positive. I love Dana Brown because I know so much about him. Always Stros.
Alrighty, so definitely this was a great day for Houston. I know that kind of Mark Berman was the one that kind of broke the original news earlier around, I want to say it was around 1 o'clock that things started happening, or maybe a little bit earlier, but this is pretty cool, especially after Jim Crane at the Houston award ceremony was like, yeah, we have no timetable for anything to happen. And so, but now this happened and it's awesome. It's awesome to see that Astros, after 75 days, actually have a GM. And you know what else is awesome? You making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, make sure you go and keep on subscribing to us. Make sure you make us your first listen and go ahead and give us a like while you're at it. And go ahead and listen to us on your way to work on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Go and make us your first listen. So today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It's the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. So this is a guy who's been in baseball for basically about 31 years. For the past 4 years, he's been the vice president of amateur scouting for the Braves, who have developed talent like Spencer Strider and Michael Harris and a bunch of players that went in the Matt Olson deal. So this is a guy that knows how to scout talent. He also knows how to retain that talent. And we saw even Michael Harris get extended. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what was your overall thoughts, Brett, of the deal?
You know, right here, I'll just respond to this question with my answer. Is Dana Brown a W or an L? He's an absolute W. And let me tell you, when I talked to different hosts from the Locked On Network, they were all like, we hate it. We hate it because why? Because Dana Brown brings in extra winning. He brings in not just winning now, but they even said on MLB Network that this championship window is actually still open to 28, 29. I mean, I was thinking 2026. Now Dana Brown comes in. The thing is, Eric, we may not have known a lot about him until now, but we've gotten an education in Dana Brown. When you spend 30 plus years, when you've got the commissioner of baseball saying you're going to get your shot, and when you have him hired and you see things that his wife said at the press conference, that this is something he's been dreaming about, and I knew one day it was going to make it, it was going to happen. And to have someone like Dusty Baker at the helm, this is phenomenal because according to Dusty, he's been around the game a lot. But for me personally, I really was cringing at the deal if Brad Ausmus was the GM. I mean, Chris Castellani, if y'all don't know who he is, go on Twitter and find his little his little rant about why he was kind of warning the Astros, don't hire Brad Ausmus as the GM. And Brad Ausmus has this place in Astros history.
Right.
But you got to look at his track record. But someone may counter and say, but Dana doesn't have any GM experience. Yes, but he has the right experience in player development. And it's not that we haven't developed players, it's we've been able to develop players, right? That we've gotten into our system and we've hit on those, but our minor league system is not in the best place. Regardless of the success that we've seen, we still don't have an overall overreaching. And in the opening of the show, That literally was a quote from Elvis Rodriguez, a hitting coordinator for the Houston Astros, when he said, "We got a baseball guy leading us now." That's all I need to hear from coaches in the developmental process talking about Dana Brown. This is a major win for the Houston Astros.
Yeah, and Jim Crane said that we did the complete evaluation of all the people that interviewed for this position. He's the perfect fit for us. And something that he said that was really pretty cool was he's very analytical savvy, a great talent evaluator, a great people skills, excellent communicator, and last but not least, he's a baseball player who knows baseball in and out. And also, he's good at seasoned and player acquisition, development, and the key word is retention.
Hmm.
Retention. That's what Astros fans keep on asking about. Well, what about Christian Javier? What about Kyle Tucker? What about Framber Valdez? That's the key. That's why the Braves championship window, or maybe not champ. I don't know about champion. They only have one so far, but they've been to the playoffs for the past 5 years. Brown's been over there for 4 years as the scouting vice president over there.
Right.
So I think that their window is going to be extended because not only are they drafting these players, but they're extending them too.
Yeah, exactly. And, through 2028, and, you said it right that the Braves championship window is actually open, and it is open further because of the work that he did. I just, I love this. Brown says when you turn on the TV and you watch the Houston Astros, they're a winning team. Just being around some of the players and knowing and understanding what it takes to win a championship, whether it's the pitching, the timely hitting, the good bullpen, there are things like that that you notice. And we certainly have that here. And I want that to continue. I mean, Eric, we've got placeholders right now in the minor leagues like Pedro Leon, Gilbert, Clifford. I mean, we've got so many guys that are coming up. Arigati, an amazing pitcher who's probably gonna make some noise. We've got the players right now, but who are we gonna bring along? And there are some other guys coming up. The Astros just announced there's like another Cuban prospect that they're supposed to sign in 2024, and so he's going to get involved in this. And what I'm going to love is see how Dana Brown not only gets involved with evaluating the players, but how he interacts with guys like Rafael Pena, like Elvis Rodriguez, like Jason Bell from Houston Astros is going to be joining us in the future. Jim Crane, dude, you could tell he's as happy as a lark. I mean, he is feeling mighty high right now. And other teams, I'm telling you, they are not pleased with this. This is like the Bulls getting another Michael Jordan. This is like a great team just re-upping the game. And someone made this comparison today, Eric. The Astros are to the Yankees what the Bulls were to the Knicks in the NBA. Remember the Knicks couldn't get past the Bulls when Michael
Right.
Jordan was with them? That's what the Astros are. And until someone can match us and beat us, we're still kings of the hill, man.
Yeah, Brown said, I know there's some special things going on here already, and I want to continue and extend that long term. I've been in the game for 33 years. Baseball is all I know. It's my entire life. And so I want to empty myself into the city and the Astros fans and let Jim Crane know that he made a special pick. A big part of what I want to do is sustain the winning long term. So we want to continue to build. We want to get greedy about winning. That's what it's all about. And I know that World Traveler mentioned that here. And the Astros have been greedy about winning for a long time, and they've given up a lot of their prospects in that. And I know somebody mentioned about it's not just about having prospects for your team; it's about being able to trade prospects and having that the prospect pool for that. So you can bet that they're going to be doing that too. And so Brett, I'm excited about this. We'll talk more about what Jeff Bagwell had to say and what some other people had to say about Dana Brown.
Yeah, definitely. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here. That's right. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On here because they're the number one sports book in America. FanDuel, that is right. And if you are new to FanDuel, it's even better. They have so many great features. that make betting sports fun and easy. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You sign up at fanduel.com/locked on. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance to win a bigger payout with same game parlay. All on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. The NFC and AFC championships are around the corner. Who will reign supreme? Will Cool Joe from Cincinnati make it? Will that San Francisco defense, who has a lot of ailing offensive players, make it into the big game? So, football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet and get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at fanduel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You know, Eric, it's exciting because the offseason started with a bang, and we signed Jose Abreu. We re-signed Montero. We got Brantley back, and we did that all without Dana Brown. Now we have Dana Brown, so it's almost like you have Superman and you add Iron Man. Like it's like you had a great thing going, and now you've got another guy. And again, I can't echo this enough. When player development guys are willing to say, this is our guy, that really makes me happy. That's all I need to know. And Craig Biggio was a teammate of his. You know, Craig Biggio's said this: over the years, we always stay in touch and we always talk. I think the thing I'm most proud about for him is he's jumped through all the hoops to get to where he is today. He's learned from a lot of people. He'll do a lot of good for the organization, and I'm excited to have his expertise working for us now. I mean, that's your cream of the crop player. That is Craig Biggio, Mr. 3000. Boom, stamp of approval. Jeff Bagwell, stamp of approval. I mean, this is a great day. It's like Christmas on January 26th.
Yeah, so Jeff Bagwell had to say, I'm excited. I think Dana's going to do a great job as he's talked about mixing the analytics with the evaluation of your eyes and experience. That's what Jim wants. And we know under the Luno administration, they kind of went away from the eye scouting department. They got rid of a whole bunch of scouts. And I know that a lot of people were really upset about that. Yeah, analytics will help you, but at the same time, you got to go with your gut feeling. And credit to Click, he did add more scouts, and he was trying to go back to old school scouting too, with the mix of just kind of the scouting too. And I know that part of what made the Braves successful and working underneath Dana Brown was the fact that they gave him what they called scouting, analytics, and makeup component. And so that's what Dana Brown was successful with the Braves. It wasn't just the scouting, the analytics, or the makeup. It was all of them together. So maybe for a time there, the Astros were too focused on what do the numbers say? But you got to have the eye test. And what about their makeup? What are they as a person? What are they as a player? What are they as a teammate? So if you put them all three together, you'll get the Michael Harrises, you get the Spencer Striders, the guys that you want to lock up long term. And that's basically what Jim Crane said. He said, certainly we won't do away with our analytics. We have very good analytics department. He's very analytical savvy, but we like the dimensions of player evaluation and player acquisition. He's worked up and down the system, and he knows it well. He worked for some very good people. And also, I think Brown said that Bagwell and Reggie Jackson and Dusty Baker were all part of the interview process. So we know that Bagwell will have some say in what goes on with the Astros, but I think that this is Dana Brown's job. I don't know if he's going to have to answer to Bagwell. I think the only person he'll have to
Oh,
answer
no.
to is Jim Crane.
Dana Brown will not be answering to Jeff Bagwell. Jeff Bagwell, here's the thing. Jeff Bagwell would never assume that role anyways. This is
Right.
something I want to put up here. Arlie says, and this is kind of jokingly, but he says, let's see if the Magic Man, they say he is who he says he is, and trade Jake Myers for Ohtani. Of course, you're going to have some wild hair ideas like that. I don't know that Jake Myers gets it done. It might take a lot more. And
It will.
within that recent news with the Angels, their ownership group just said, you know what? We're not selling the team. We're keeping them because I think they know what kind of cash cow they have in Ohtani and Trout, and they still have them around. They're going to try to get some more players in there. The Angels are trying to get to relevance, I guess, 2 or 3 years from now. We know it's not happening this year. The Rangers have tried very hard. Hey, something kind of cool too. Our friends at Locked On Mariners got one of their top dudes to talk to them on the show. I believe it was the general manager for the Seattle Mariners, and so maybe we need a campaign for Dana Brown to come on Locked On Astros. He seems like a
Let's
really
give
cool
him a little
guy.
bit of time to get acclimated and get used to all the
Well, here's the
people in the
thing.
front office, because apparently he hasn't even talked to a lot of people in the front office yet.
Well, I'll be at spring training, and he'll have talked to all his people by the time spring training comes around. And
Okay.
guess who's going to be there? Dana Brown and H-Town Wheelhouse. And so we're going to try to see if we can get some questions from him. But look, in all seriousness, Eric, let's talk about this because we know that he's going to like pump the system up, but people are wondering what's he going to do. And we'll talk about the younger players, the Peñas and the Browns later, okay? Because they're younger,
Right.
they're not very far along in their career. But the ones that come to mind, everyone's like, okay, so that means we're signing Tucker, right? Okay, so that means we're signing Valdez and Javier, right? I mean, we can't sign them all, but what would be is Dana Brown the difference maker in this negotiation process because he saw it happen in Atlanta?
Right.
Does Kyle Tucker hold on to like kind of bet on himself type of person? I think there's more hope now because we actually have somebody in place, and I don't know that Jim Click was the guy to get that done. And he may be someone who comes in and turns those things around, and all of a sudden, Kyle Tucker is on a 10-year deal.
That may have had something to do with relationships. What happened with the Braves? I think a lot of people trusted what the scouting department, they trusted the GMs over there. So, and I think they trusted what's going on with the Braves. So, I'm not saying that's not what's happening with Tucker. There's some reason why he's holding out, or maybe the Astros are not just seeing what a player like Kyle Tucker is really valued at. So maybe Dana Brown can come in and say, okay, well, this is what we did for Michael Harris. He had this amount of years control. So I think if you want to really, really, really sign Kyle Tucker, you're going to have to give up this much. Let's go and buy out the last 2 years or whatever it is of arbitration. And then this is what you have to do to go ahead and extend him past this amount. You can't shortchange him. If you want a player like this is an all-star. This is a guy that could be leading your team to the next World Series, Jim. You can't really you can't shortchange him. And so I think that this is going to be a good job. And I love the way that he described Jim Crane. I'm trying to find it right here, but he said that he's a little bit what's the word he said? But he just said that he's a little bit
He's
uh,
a little high strung,
yeah,
but
high
I'm
strung.
from the north. But I'm from the
Right,
Northeast. This is going to be a perfect storm. So basically, what he's saying is, look, Jim Crane wants what he wants, and
right,
I can tell you, I got like, if you want to talk one on one off air, I got some stories. I've heard some things, not bad things, but there's a reason why Jim Crane's a billionaire. There's a reason why these guys get to where they get to in their level of success. There's also a reason why someone like Dana Brown gets to where he is. He wasn't just some guy that was just pushed along.
right.
Like Biggio said, he earned and he jumped through every hoop. He didn't get a skyrocketed shot to the top. He worked his way to the top. I love this because Jim, and this is what we've been tooting the Jim Crane horn since I can remember. He puts the right people in the right places. He puts smart men and smart women in the right places. I mean, this is a home run.
Yeah, and he said, Brown said, it's tough to say there's something missing when you win a World Series. At the end of the day, I just want to come in and be part of it and do what I do special, which is to acquire players, get them signed long term, develop players, communicate well to staff, and build a winning tradition where people can grow and be themselves. So that is a very cool statement. And every Jim Crane Brown had mentioned this a lot of time. I think the main focus is extending player. That's what the Astros want to do. They don't want to pay top dollar for all these free agents like we're seeing them doing, like other teams doing. They want to go ahead and extend their players while they're still young. Maybe somebody like Jeremy Pena, even Tucker, and a lot of these other players. They want to extend them while they're young, and a guy like Brown can do that for you. And so I think that's why the Astros were really sold on him above, apparently, according to Bob Nightingale, the second choice was Brad Ausmus. And so if it wasn't for Dana Brown, you could be talking about Brad Ausmus as your GM. Now
Yeah.
you're
Can
now
you
introducing your GM, Brad Ausmus. Everybody be like, wait, what?
now look, with all due respect, I don't know that Brett Ausmus is going to find his way to Locked On Astros. Maybe he does. But we're just saying that sometimes people have talent. This just isn't this isn't, I think, his jam right now. I
Mm,
think if Brad Ausmus is going to go for a GM job, he's going to need to start somewhere else, not just go straight to
with
GM.
the
It makes
A's, maybe
sense.
with a team like that has room to grow.
Right. But what I'm saying is, and even if a counter argument is, well, Brown doesn't have any GM experience. Well, yes, but like you said, Eric, because we were talking before the show, prepping for the show, 31 years in baseball. That's
33,
no
actually. Yeah.
oh 33. Oh, hey, I stand
I said it
corrected.
wrong earlier, but yeah.
That's okay. 32, like 2 years in a 33-year period makes a big difference because all of that stuff leads up. And this guy has a chance to have an effect on a team a lot like Lunau did in a different way. Not like Lunau, not the way he approached it, but the amount of deep impact that Lunau still has and his effect still being felt today. Brown has a chance to have that effect being felt here in Houston. He definitely has that in Atlanta, even though he was the vice president of scouting, he wasn't the GM. His hand and his fingerprints are all over that team. And so I know that Crane is happy to have this done because you could
Yeah.
tell he was kind of playing coy a little bit when he was interviewed at the Houston Sports Association Awards, but he has to. He can't reveal, he can't show his whole hand. But the Astros continue to be the premier professional sports organization. And people, this is why we say, we ask Seth Payne, Houston right now is a baseball town.
Well, actually, Bob Nightingale did tweet out today that Brown was actually offered the job last night. So Crane knew that he was going to hire Brown last night, and Brown accepted the job today. I don't know if he was already in Houston. Maybe they had met and they had finally worked out on the final agreement, and
He's
they
talking
accepted.
to He's talking to Jim Crane. He's like, let me think about it. He's like, honey, we're getting on a plane. He shows up, knocks on his door. Hey, Crane, I'm your guy. Hey,
Yeah.
come on, let's talk.
So
I just
I think to clarify the years, I think he's been in the front office for 31 years, but he's
okay.
been in baseball for 33 years.
There you
Remember,
go.
he was a minor leaguer before he was basically out. And then I think that year he moved into I want to say it was the Phillies front office as a just as a evaluator or something like that. So,
So so I saw a tweet earlier, Eric. Michael Schwab on Twitter had kind of sourced out and said, "Hey, another MLB executive said this about the Astros." So I asked him, I was like, "What do you think about this hire?" And he said, "I love the hire for the Astros to get Dana Brown. When the list of names came out, he was the most qualified, the best for the job. He was VP of scouting. He will help overhaul the scouting department, like we mentioned, which was in dire need. He will also be a mix between analytics and old school. Like mentioned before, this only helps the Astros in the long term when the short term is doing excellent right now. I love the hire." And that is literally the sentiment across the board. His thoughts are echoed with Robert Flores, with Chris Young, with Kevin Millar, intentional talk. I mean, all those guys are talking about it. And again, this is huge because I've been like, hey, the Astros championship window is open through 26. I'm not afraid to say our championship window is now open through 28. And I really think that Fox on MLB prediction for the World Series for the next 10 years, you're going to see a lot of Braves and Astros action in the coming days. Wouldn't it be interesting if the Braves and the Astros played in the World Series this next year and Dana Brown plays against his old team and the guys that he signed extension to? I think that might be kind of a fun World Series because I think this year, this time around, we have a much better shot.
Well, he did. He is joining a team that he beat in the
I
2021
know.
World Series, and so he said, "Oh yeah, I remember playing against y'all guys, and I saw how good that team was. So to join this organization and continue the winning success." And Dusty Baker said that it's a great hire. He's done almost everything in the game, from playing to being an excellent scout to being in front office, coming from winning places and winning organizations that he helped build. I think he was very, very qualified for a job. And here's the thoughts by Dusty. Sort of surprised that it took this long. I don't know him that well. I know he comes with high recommendations from people that I do know, and I'm looking forward to working with him. To me, he checks all of the qualified boxes. So,
So we are being asked by Jay Roberts. He said when they announced the length of his contract, is it a 1 year deal?
no, I doubt they have not announced it, not to my knowledge, but I would assume that they're keeping a hush hush. But I would say it'll have to be a 3 year deal at least to get him to come be be GM. Honestly, maybe we'll find out over the next couple of days, but they typically don't really announce money or contracts. I know they did with James Click. They said they signed a 3 year deal, but maybe it'll come out over the next 3 days. But today was just about, hey, we have a GM. Are you happy? And I think Astros fans are truly happy about having a GM. And I know that he is gonna do good. And I know his former somebody that actually hired him to the first guy that hired him to work in the front office was Omar Minaya. He was the former Expos and Mets GM, and he said he's a great baseball man, but more important, he is a good man. All of us from the Expos family are rejoicing. And so people are just glad. I think I even saw Bob Nightingale tweet out that said this is a great baseball guy, but he's also a great person. And so I know a lot of people say that Jeff Luno was very cutthroat and
Yeah.
that type of person. And so I'm sure a lot of GMs will be much rather work with. I'm sure James Click was. I'm sure he was a nice guy and everything, but I'm sure people like working with Dana Brown.
Well, you know what they say about nice guys. But
Well,
seriously, I
I'm sure
digress.
he's gonna get the job done, but, so yeah.
Well, like I said, I really think that maybe James Click had a certain vision. I know he won a World Series, but I don't know. Maybe the vision overall with the minor league and stuff, maybe it didn't come through the way they wanted it to. So we have Dana Brown. James Click is in the past. The past is in the past, not to quote any Disney princess songs. But let me tell you, the Houston Astros
Let it
are
go.
being set up. Just hold the phone there, buddy. The Astros are setting things up to be an absolute thorn in the side of every American League team that tries to come up against us, even the Seattle Mariners, the Blue Jays. The Rays are getting sneakily good. They're adding more people. They just actually made a trade today with the Oakland A's for Cole Irvin. So don't count the Rays out. Like I've kind of forgotten about them, but they always appear. And so none with that being said, the Astros competition is gunning for them, but we have 23 of the 26 guys from last year's World Series team, Eric. We're going to have a healthy Michael Brantley. The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for this 2023 Houston Astros club.
Yeah, I know that, Brown is the, second, African American GM in Astros history. I did this with somebody I was talking to earlier. Do you actually remember, Bob Watson was the first one, but do you remember all the GMs in between?
No, but I know you have a list of them on our sheet.
Yes, Jerry Hunsinker, Tim Pepera, Ed Wade, Jeff Luno, and then James Click. And the person I was arguing with was like, "Well, does Jim Crane count?" And I'm like, "No, Jim Crane does not count." So
No, but Bill Furcus does.
no, he
Bill
was the assistant. He was the
assistant to the
assistant
regional
to the
manager.
assistant, GM.
He wasn't the assistant to the assistant. He was the assistant to Jeff
He
Bagwell,
was the
regional manager.
head assistant. So, but
So you had Jeff Bagwell, regional manager, and then
yeah.
all the other three were his
Why
assistants.
was the one GM I forgot about on that list Ed Wade? Did he just not
You forget?
mean
Okay,
anything?
hold on. Do you remember Ed Waite like parachuted into Minute Maid Park when he was with the Astros? Were you at that game? It was an opening day.
Oh,
Ed
you did?
Waite parachuted into Minute Maid Park, and I was like, at the time, I thought this is the coolest Astros GM ever, and he's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't remember
um,
much about Ed Wade. I remember he came from the Phillies, I believe, if I
well,
remember
I remember
correctly.
that.
But
I mean,
but I couldn't
now
remember the other one. I'm like, I remember Tim Purpura. I
we
don't
need.
remember who's in between that and
My
uh
question is, Dana Brown, are you going to be parachuting into Minute Maid Park for opening day with the rings, with the ring box?
well, I know that you mentioned this earlier, but Cassandra Brown was taking pictures, and
Mhm.
she said it's a keepsake because this is his dream. Because it's his dream, it's my dream as well to see him reach his goal. This is all he's ever wanted, and he loves baseball. It's up there with God, family, baseball in that order. And you won't be disappointed, Astros fans. Crane has made a great choice. And to kind of wrap up on the show, Dana Brown says that this GM will be taking out the garbage, cleaning ovens, and all that stuff. I may have to do that a couple times. So basically, he's saying that he's going to be doing all the dirty work at home and not just
Oh
at
yeah.
the office.
Just because he got the big job doesn't mean that his wife's going to let him off the hook. But that's what you love to hear. It sounds like they are a happy couple. Sounds like they've got a great family. He sounds like a family man. Sounds like a character guy, a perfect guy for the Houston Astros organization. Dude, this is a great show. I'm excited. I'm super pumped that you got to do the reaction today. We got to get the news out there quick, like we always do, and we'll continue to do that throughout the off season. So make sure you stay tuned in to Locked On Astros. But Eric, after they make us their first listen, who should they make their second listen?
They should go and check out the Locked On MLB Prospects. Lindsey Crosby does a great job. They call him the prospect encyclopedia. So maybe Dana Brown can go and add some more Astros prospects out there. But go check them out on wherever you listen to your podcast. Go listen to the Locked On MLB Prospects, and make sure you make a Locked On Astros podcast your first listen, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Please, please, please. We're trying to get those numbers up. Give us a like while you're at it. And I think that hopefully Dana Brown will not just bring in more talent, but help us retain more talent. So that way we don't keep on losing these stars year after year after year after year. That's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. We'll be back again, and go Stros, and we'll see you next time.